What's your name? Yeah, we were at a pool party. Glad you missed it. We didn't live there, so fun. Like when I figured things were probably wrapping up here.
Okay, I sang for you.
Thank you. We were sad for Oh, you're right, we did get there at one. He didn't want to get out of the pool for the water side, he didn't want to get out of the pool for the hot candy, he didn't want to get out of the pool for the hot dogs. Yes. Yes. Me and mommy forced him to eat protein.
If you had swimming, you're the only way there.
Yeah, and then you would swim for 3 hours.
It's a lot of exercise. Swimming is it's a lot of work. It's a lot of exercise. You're moving your body, even if it's in water. It's still exercise. You gotta eat, girls. I don't know. Or else you go. Yeah, exactly.
And if you do that in the water, it's really bad.
Yeah. Here's something for you.
I'm so not ready to have a
And I've learned that 4 years goes by fast. And because I'm like growing up, I realized that like when I'm younger, the years go by so much longer. But now that I'm growing up, they go shorter and shorter and shorter.
I have a theory about that.
What's your theory?
It has to do with the percentage of your life it is.
Because I saw a video on that and I was just gonna like, I think that's so interesting. It makes a lot of sense. It's like, I mean, if you're 2, then it's like half your life.
But when you're 22, it's 1/2 of your life. And that's a much smaller fraction.
Yeah.
What's scary is the number of adults who don't realize that a third is bigger than a quarter. Have you heard that story? Burger King was trying to compete with McDonald's quarter pounder. They put out a third pounder, but people were like, but that's less. 3 is less than 4. So a third of a pound must be less than a fourth of a pound.
Exactly right.
Seriously.
What about a double pound?
2 pounds of meat is like 8 hamburgers.
Oh, that's okay.
That's unreasonable.
How much did you charge for that?
Please rise in body or spirit as we sing our gathering hymn, number 397 in the Great Hymnal, Morning Has Come.
So we're going to do this as a round. We're going to sing it together 2 times and then as a round 3 times. We're going to split the room. You can either choose in the middle or a little this way, just trying to balance people out. Anyways.
Morning has come, night is away, rise with the sun and welcome the day. Morning has come, night is away, rise with the sun and welcome the day. Morning has come, night is away, night is away, and rise with the sun. And morning has come, night is away, rise is away, and rise with the sun. And morning has come, night is away, light is away, and rise with the sun, and welcome the day.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Hillsborough. We are an open and welcoming congregation, so whether you're a member, a friend, or a guest, we are so glad you're here and joining us today. Since we are a lay-led congregation, there are a lot of volunteers who make our services possible, and we want to offer a heartfelt thank you to all of them. Today we will also be joined by Aurora Tennyson, a member of our own congregation, who will be offering us her sermon titled Renewing Wonder, a guide for young and not so young folks going out into the world. Before we create our sacred space and begin worship, let's take a moment to share any announcements. The main one I have is to check your phones to make sure they are silent during the rest of our worship time together. But are there other announcements for the good of the community?
Hi, I'm Aurora, and I have a couple RE-related announcements. First of all, thank you to everyone who volunteered last week for our UUCHRE Art Walk. We had really great docents, we had really great greeters, we had some great artists doing chalk art outside, and thank you for everyone who came and brought canned goods. It was really lovely, and we hope to do it again next year. Maybe more people from the congregation can also bring some art for it. Second thing is, today there will be training during RE for chalice lighting with some candle safety and talking about the significance of our chalice. And if your child can't attend and would like at another date, just let me and Heather know, and we can make up like a backup lesson. And once your child has been trained, they can sign up, look in the e-news, and there will be a sign up for kids who can be our chalice lighters at the beginning of service. So we'd like to kind of make that a little more like organized and formal, so look for that in the e-news. Thank you.
Hey y'all, Amy Dark here, your program administrator. I want to remind everybody we have a cow on June 30th. That's a committee of the whole meeting for members to come do the business of the congregation. We need quorum, so plan on staying after service on June 30th for that. Also, let me see here. No, I guess that's it. But I'm gonna do a Pride service here on June 30th to wrap up Pride Month. So find some rainbow stuff to wear. We want bright colors and fun and stuff. So think about that. End of the month, we're gonna do a pride service here. Thank you.
Hi everyone, good morning. We are still short one person to act as a delegate to the GA assembly. And what's the date on that, Amy?
Soon, June 20th through 23rd.
20th through the 23rd. Okay, thank you. It doesn't really require a whole lot of effort. You don't have to attend every single thing that's offered. There are quite a few things, and some are quite interesting. Some you might not find so interesting. But the main thing is that we'll be voting on different issues, and probably the most important one is the Article 2 vote, which I think has reached a final form. If anybody would be interested, we'd really appreciate it. Margie is the other delegate, and you'd be coordinating somewhat with her.
A little thing to add. If you do not have the time commitment but are still interested in helping us fulfill our second slot as a voting delegate representative, there is an option to register just for the voting portion and not attending all of the sessions. So if that is something that would make it more feasible for us to have our second participant, that is definitely an option available to us. So just see Lou or I after the service if you're interested. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no more announcements, let us now prepare for our worship time together by reminding ourselves of who we are and why we gather. We are a community who strives to connect with one another in love. Our covenantal faith guides us to support each other in spiritual growth and deepening of faith. And today we welcome you with open arms to our house of worship. We will now create our sacred space by lighting our chalice, the UU symbol for the light of truth that each of us seeks, the light of hope that each of us brings, and the eternal light of love. Our opening words today are on claiming this time for renewal by Reverend Gretchen Haley. Though you have been warned and given plenty of explanations, reasons to do otherwise, you have persisted to claim a life of joy and justice, and to carve out this time for renewal of your own heart, despite the din demanding your attention, luring you towards fear and cynicism. You persist with gratitude for this day, this life that has been given, this chance to begin again, despite all the forces of fragmentation, the disappointing ways we fail each other, fail ourselves. We must refuse to let grief undo us or to let our dreams get lost along the way. In spite of all the evidence, we keep showing up at the edge of our own longing. And then we keep going, remembering this duty we have to life. In a greater sense, this duty we have to each other, our children and their children. This hope that is also a choice we make. This promise we fight for, to persist in kindness, persevere in compassion, and prevail in a life that is bound entirely to love. Come, let us worship together. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, number 21 in the Great Hymnal, For the Beauty of the Earth. Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, a sharing community where our joys are celebrated, and a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. Each Sunday, we take some time to reflect on the events that have occurred this week among our members and friends. Some choose to share aloud, while others choose to remain silent, and here we make room for both. For those of you who would like to share aloud, please take a moment before we begin to center yourself and collect your thoughts so that what you share this morning is personal, heartfelt, and brief. When you are ready, please come forward, tell us your name, and share what is in your heart. When you are finished, you may release a stone into the vase on the altar. Prefer to silently acknowledge your joys and sorrows remaining in your hearts, I invite you to come to the altar and release a stone into the vase in silence while Tristan plays Spirit of Life, and after he plays it through one time, you are all invited to join in singing one verse of the hymn. The words are printed in your orders of service. You hold all these things within the heart of this community, both spoken and unspoken, by remaining silent for a moment as we consider what has been shared and how we might respond. Let us close with Amen and Blessed be.
Amen.
And at this time, let's sing the children to their RE classes with the Children's Blessing, which is in the back of your gray hymnals.
Our opening words today is a poem, The Ache, by Jared K. Anderson. When we feel pained or drained by the ugliness of the world, it is because we are mourning. We mourn for the love of what the world could be, for a place that isn't there but should be. That pain is the overwhelming goodness in you, hungering for an echo of itself. What is, what was, what could be. It is a terrible mark of honor to mourn. It means we have the courage to love in an imperfect, impermanent world. It means we have sided with difficult tenderness over numbing indifference. want to start off by congratulating David and Cadence again for surviving their compulsory education and graduating this week. Huzzah! Now I want you to know that my son's least favorite question this graduation weekend is, what are you going to study in college? And I will save you all from asking him by telling you that the answer is, I don't know. I'm going in undecided. And perhaps this uncertainty should concern me, but it really doesn't. And this is basically because although I thought when I went into college that I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, that changed, like, will you hear my mom laughing? That changed like every few months. And even now, it kind of took me 40 years to figure that out, and that's still subject to revision depending on the job market and, where I go next. You hear my husband? Yeah, so a young person who's just over the cusp of adulthood, not knowing what they want to do for the rest of their life, that's profoundly normal to me. But more than that, I think, asking about majors is nice, polite, small talk, but it's not really an important question in the grand scheme of things. And instead, I think a much more interesting question, both for young graduates and for the rest of us, was emphasized by Kelsey O'Connor, last year's commencement speaker at the NC State graduation ceremony. And she got up and extolled people to focus, her fellow graduates especially, not on what they wanted to do when they were graduating into a very uncertain job market, but instead to focus on what kind of person they wanted to be. We all need a way to provide for ourselves, of course, but we have much more control over who we are than what we have to do to earn a paycheck. Who we are is what defines us. And Kelsey went on to say that how she shifted her mindset a lot about people she was interacting with when she started introducing her friends at parties instead of by what their major was or what their job was, but by their best character traits, and started thinking about them that way in her mind. And I really love this idea of going to a party instead of everyone being like, this is Joe, he's an accountant at so-and-so, or this is Allie, and she's an architect at this firm. And instead saying, this is Joe, he is so funny and has the kindest spirit. Or this is Allie, and she can fix anything with her eyes shut, and she is so generous. And I think the latter brings out so much more as what the essence of people are, and also deflates that kind of like unconscious sizing up that happens when people like introduce themselves and say what they do to strangers. I just think that would be an amazing approach. So David and Cadence, and anyone else dealing with the uncertainty of moving to a new phase of life, which, if we're going to be honest, is really kind of all of us, whether we admit it or not. I urge you to take a moment to reflect on the kind of person you want to be, and not lose sight of that when life takes random twists and turns. I know I have a strong desire both for myself and my progeny that we are able to cultivate our better angels to make ourselves more hopeful, more resilient, and more compassionate. And I suspect that many others in this congregation wish those things both for themselves and for loved ones. But sometimes finding hope and resilience and compassion can be kind of tough. When we fail at an important task, when we experience loss, when we just listen to the news and hear all the calamities that are going on to our fellow beings, it's really easy to lose sight of hope and to give in to cynicism. Many years ago, when I was a, somewhat disgruntled college student, I remember sitting at the front porch with my dad, and out of the blue he said to me, cynicism is the death of intellect. And I don't remember exactly what I said that prompted him saying that, but the quote really stuck with me. So yes, parents, sometimes your kids are actually listening to you. And I was like, what do you mean, Dad? And he said something along the lines of that, if you're cynical and you think that everything in the world is going to hell in a handbasket and there's nothing you can do about it, you actually close down your intellectual abilities to look for out-of-the-box solutions. Cynicism may seem edgy and cool, but it's really an excuse to disengage from the world. And I was reminded of this sermon by a quote by Patty O'Connor, when she was talking a few weeks ago about pluralism and polarization. And she said something that sounded kind of similar, an echo of that. Certainty is the arch enemy of curiosity. And then she went on to describe how curiosity about folks with different backgrounds from ourselves can help combat the polarization that plagues us in society. So I'm going to argue that if curiosity is the antidote to polarization, then wonder is the antidote to cynicism. And I talked a little bit about kind of some of my experiences with awe, which is kind of another way of saying wonder, a few months ago in my sermon about contemplative practices. And at that time, I kind of said something very vague and hand-wavy, like, I don't know what triggers me experiencing awe, but it has something to do with religion or nature or a sense of scale in the universe. And my sister, I send her my sermons because she was actually like a divinity school person, and I'd like to know her thoughts on it. And she recommended a really good book for me called Awe, The New Science of Everyday Wonder and How It Can Transform Your Life by a psychology professor named Dr. Keltner. And so it turns out, like, I didn't know what triggered awe in people. There was someone who spent like his entire research career studying this, and he wrote a really good book about it. Seriously, it's really good. If you're looking for something to read on the subject, I recommend. And Keltner described how feeling awe has a variety of both physiological and psychological effects on the body. On a physiological level, we kind of know we're experiencing it. We might weep tears of joy, we might get chills or goosebumps, or just kind of go, ooh. And a lot of times, this kind of universal, around the world, people's vocalizations associated with experiences of awe, it's almost always something like, oh, whoa, something along those lines. It's a universal human vocalization. And psychologically, as he was doing this research, he discovered that when people did things that triggered awe or wonder, that it focused their attention away from what he called the little neurotic in our brains, which is that little voice that causes us to be self-critical or self-centered, and instead we feel part of something vast and interconnected. In psychological experiments, after participating in experiences that promoted wonder, people were more likely to be humble, more collaborative, and more generous. To quote Keltner, awe promotes our saintly tendencies. And who wouldn't want that? Fortunately, experiencing wonder doesn't have to be something we go to remote mountaintops to find. Although remote mountaintops are a really good place to find it if you have the time, go to those mountains. But Keltner and his colleagues surveyed people all around the world to find what brings them awe from a wide variety of cultural backgrounds. And they defined awe for the purposes of this survey as the feeling of being in the presence of something vast that transcends your current understanding of the world. And the responses they got fell largely, very largely, into 8 categories of that they kind of talked about in the rest of the book. So I just want to, what do you think number 1 is? It's not a rhetorical question. You can shout things out. Okay. Number 1, for those who are being shy.
Say the question again.
What do you think the most number 1 category that people of experiences that triggered awe in people was?
Nature.
You know, that was my thought too. But that is what we're getting there. That we are getting there. But it wasn't actually number 1. The most commonly reported thing was witnessing moral beauty of our fellow human beings. And I kind of thought that was really sweet. Like, we can be our own source of awe. People most commonly reported awe when they observed someone demonstrating extreme courage, extreme kindness, extreme generosity, often to strangers. We don't have to witness this directly either. Reading and hearing about moral beauty can inspire awe, be it sacred stories, biographies of civil rights leaders, or perhaps even our favorite fantasy hero. Those things can all give us a little burst of wonder. I know that the scene in the Lord of the Rings movie when Frodo and Sam are like wandering around in the wilderness, and like Frodo's like, we're never going to get the ring to Mordor, everything's doomed, and he's feeling really down. And Sam gives him this brilliant soliloquy about how maybe we're like those people in stories, and it was really tough, but they kept going. And Frodo looks at him and he's like, what are we holding on to, Sam? And see, I can't even say this without getting a little misty-eyed. Sam's like, that there's some good in this world, and it's worth fighting for. It always gives me little tears and chills, and so if you're feeling down and cynical with the world, find some stories of good deeds. That might help alleviate your funk. The second most common category is what Keltner described as collective effervescence. And that's that feeling of interconnectedness that we sometimes feel in a crowd sharing a common purpose. And people reported this experience of awe at weddings, funerals, raves, sporting events, protests, festivals, conventions, and coming-of-age ceremonies. One of my favorite memories of finding renewal and collective effervescence was watching David's first Lego robotics team at the dance party that happens at the end of the competition. We were a new team, we didn't know what we were doing, our robot was horrible, and the kids were feeling a little bit bad after seeing how they compared us to the other people. And then they got out there, and there was this dance floor of kids, all these shy, nerdy kids, doing a Congo line. And all these kids who were just one moment kind of got up and were just dancing and Congo line, and just that collective effervescence of that brought everyone so much joy, and especially me. And they all came up afterwards like, we're gonna do this again. And I was just like, oh, all that work, yay. So it doesn't have to be something as, kind of once a year or once in a lifetime kind of movement. Even everyday collective movement can help people feel more interconnected, be it a Zumba class, a pickup game of soccer, martial arts practice, dance practice, or just walking in step with a good friend can help you feel more interconnected. So another way to combat cynicism is finding some folks to just go collectively move with. At the very least, you'll get some exercise, and maybe you'll find some collective effervescence of your own. And if you're moving outside, then you can find category number 3. The third category of things that triggered wonders was experiences of nature, which I feel as a congregation is probably something that resonates a lot with us. It's definitely, since I'm a biology nerd and a nature nerd, definitely my favorite place to try to experience wonder. And you can go to a national park, and that's very soul refreshing, but natural wonder can be found anywhere, even in the middle of a concrete-filled college campus. When seeking renewal as a college student, I invented something that I dubbed tree meditation. I would go outside, and there was this little planting of Japanese maples that was the only thing in literally a sea of concrete outside my dorm. And I would spend time focusing on the intricate details of each branch, the bugs scurrying along, the tiny bits of lichen, the changing colors of a leaf from one shade to another. And as I did this, the part of my brain that was worried about exams and relationships quieted, and the anxious buzz was replaced with a sense of calm and delight. I'm not alone in finding renewal from trees. Keltner and his colleague Paul Piff found that when folks were brought out for an experiment to focus on some tall, stately trees on campus for a few minutes, compared to folks who were instructed just to look at a bland campus building, they were more likely to respond with generosity and follow-up encounters. Music of all types and visual design, be it art, craft, or architecture, were the 4th and 5th sources of wonder, and spiritual experience came in 6th. So now, if you're feeling down, feeling cynical, you definitely have an excuse to attend that concert, to go to that museum, or to take time to show up with your favorite religious institution. Might I recommend you UCH, as activities that prime your brain for awe and all the renewal it brings. Witnessing life and death, usually the birth of a child, or the passing of a loved one, or the 7th most common way that people experience awe. While thankfully these things aren't an everyday occurrence, it's good to be aware that this can be a source of those emotions. And the final category of awe-inducing experiences was to have some sort of epiphany about the world. And epiphanies, by definition, aren't something you can just plan to have, because it wouldn't be an epiphany otherwise. But learning about history, learning about science, or late night chats with friends about the nature of the universe and philosophy, all could help increase the possibility of one happening. The simple act of taking a walk is rife with possibilities for renewing wonder if we do it with the right mindset. And indeed, Keltner performed an experiment where participants were asked to go for daily awe walks and compared their mental health to the folks who did a similar amount of exercise but weren't primed to look for wonder. All walk participants were instructed to go on walks in places with either a lot of natural or cultural beauty, and to focus either on the vastness of things or to notice the tiny details. They were encouraged to explore places they had never gone before, or be aware of different things that delighted the senses each time they went to a familiar haunt. And I think the best result that Keltner found was that the practice of searching for awe actually helped people be more receptive to it. It's not like when you eat chocolate cake and the first bite tastes good and then after a while it's like, it's okay. The more that you practice seeking awe, the more wonder you open yourself up to feeling. I just love that. Participants also reported lower anxiety, less depression, and smiling more often compared to the control group of people who just regularly walked. And this finding is especially compelling because the participants were all folks over the age of 75, the age when loss and health problems put people at a higher risk of depression. With anxiety and depression on the rise for people of all ages, all walking has the potential to help all of us improve our mental health. I hope my talk today has helped give you some ideas on how to increase the amount of wonder you experience, and that you can use some of these practices to combat cynicism, increase compassion, and move you towards being the type of person you wish to be. And for anyone embarking on a new phase of life, especially David and Cadence, here is my hope for you. May you have a safe place to sleep, good food to eat, and dear friends to support you. May you wear your helmet, buckle your seatbelt, and make safe choices as you explore new things. And may you constantly be finding new ways to renew your soul by finding everyday wonder wherever you may be. Amen and blessed be.
Each week, we take a monetary offering to support our social justice work in the community. Our plate collection this month goes to OCIM, or Orange Congregations in Mission. You may donate by putting cash or a check in the basket. Make checks out to UUCH and put plate in the subject line. Or you can also donate online by scanning the QR code in your orders of service.
Let's say hello to the real world. Give her a wave. Tell her it's okay to be scared of being discovered. Find it hard to trust another, to feel often like a child when you are grown. Summer soup pie on that frosty night. Swear it was you, Lord, it must be true. I am tired, my eyes are shining. Be the one who catches lightning, but I'm scared of letting all that magic go. And how do you fly? 'Cause I think I'm ready to give it a try. Let's say hello to the real world. Bring on the rain, it'll be okay. How do you fly around
join me in our prayer of collective gratitude found in your orders of service. For the love that surrounds us every morning, for the friends beside us, and for the generous gifts just received, let us be truly grateful. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing our closing hymn, number 1064 in the teal hymnal, Blue Boat Home.
Our closing words are Woodland U by Jared K. Anderson. It is easy to look at the contours of a forest and feel a bone-deep love for nature. It is less easy to remember that the contours of your own body represent the exact same nature. The pathways of your mind, your dreams, dark and strange as sprouts curling beneath a flat rock. Your regret, bitter as a citrus rod of old cut grass. It is the same as the nature you make time to love, that you practice loving. The forest, the meadow, the sweeping arm of a galaxy. You are as natural as any postcard landscape and deserve the same love. Amen. Blessed be.
Now we will extinguish the chalice. Please join me in saying the chalice extinguishing words printed in your orders of service. We extinguish this flame but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace and blessed be.
I know. Yeah, so I think I was